Hello guys, welcome back. In this video we are going to work on the rest of the data pages. That means I'm going to use my Angular Fire to connect to the Firebase and for the different data pages. And also we are going to work on our router guard to secure our admin pages and the user settings pages. But before I go ahead, in my last video as you saw that my user authentication that using the social authentication is working now. But I still have one minor problem. Once the user is already authenticated, my page comes back and it is stuck at the login page. Let me show you what I mean. So if I go and click on login with Google, it takes me to the Google authentication page. Let me select this authenticate method. It authenticates that, but it comes back and is stuck at the login page. Okay? So let's quickly fix that problem. So while we are waiting, let's go to GitHub Angular Fire documentation here. Okay. And next thing, I want you to go to this getting started with Firebase authentication here. Perfect. Okay. And here, as you can see, it takes only two things. One, you have to import it to your login component.ts, and then instead of using, we have to use this ngf condition to make sure that user is logged in or not. So let's quickly do that. So in my login component.ts file, okay, what I need to do, I'm going to import the Angular Fire auth here. Okay. Next thing is, in my constructor, I'm going to include a public. I'm going to initialize this Angular Fire auth, and I'm going to put a AF auth here. Now, as you can see, AF auth is a public variable here. The reason I defined this as public so that I can access it anywhere from my login.component.html file. That's it, simple. Now, next thing is go to the login component.html. So far, we have been using local variable called user logged in. And initially, if you remember, we defined the user logged in equals to boolean false. We don't need this anymore. What we need to do, we just need to copy paste this code. Now, if the user is authenticated, this is going to show this div. And if the user is not authenticated, it's going to show the login form. That's pretty much it. So now let's start working on other pages. So now before we start working on our client side of it, I want to quickly show you how to set up our database. So head out to console.firebase.com, and here you need to go to your database setting. Now as you can see, I have a lot of other collections present here. For now, please ignore this one. I'm going to start something very fresh. Also, just to let you know, I have a separate tutorial on how to set up validation and security rules using your Firebase, and I'm going to add a link to that video tutorial. But for this purpose, let's get started with a blank collection. So first collection, I'm going to call it an online store. Okay. Now, in this collection, what I intend to do, I intend to capture all the collections. So in this online store, what I want to do, so suppose you want to have one collection for different online stores. Suppose you have more than one online store. So I'm going to call it a store one, or say my store, for example, my store one. Again, it's just an approach, so you can you can design your collections whether whatever way you like it. So let's go online store. Inside this one, as you can see, there is a document. Okay, it's called this thing. Okay, actually what I wanted to do, I wanted to let me create a separate document, and the document ID I want to give it. So suppose you want to call your store is Ilish. So say store, or you want to call it a name, and I'm going to call it a Ilish garments or whatever you like it. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to delete this one collection here. No, sorry, delete document. Okay, perfect. Okay, now inside this collection, I want to have sub collections. So one collections I want to have admins. Here what I'm going to do, I'm going to capture all the admins here. Okay, now document ID I want to give so for example, I don't want to give it document ID. Okay, now hang on to this 1 minute. Let's go to authentication. Okay, so I will show you how to quickly make someone an admin. Okay, again, you can It's up to you. You can design an entire new page, and you can add or update your admins there. But for now, I just want to show you some quick and dirty way. So I'm going to pick one of my IDs, okay, and I'm going to copy this UID. Let's go to this database. Okay, go to the store what you just created. Okay. Now inside this store, this is my one store called Ilish, and here what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a new collections, and this collections will be called admins. Okay. Now inside this admins, sorry, I intend to make a collections. Collection ID is admins. Okay, and inside this admin, I want to create a new document. So suppose this is the document, and I will say auth ID equals to this, and I'm going to add one more field here, and this field will be is admin, and I'm going to make it a boolean saying true. Save. Perfect. Now what I intend to do here, I want to have some more collections here. Say cards. Say I'm going to just include, for now I'm going to include one test value here. Again, you don't need to create this right now, because once you go to your server side, client side, if you're accessing a collection, it doesn't exist, it's going to automatically create that. The only thing on the client side, you have to create the indexes, and I'll come to that part in 1 minute. Let's go start with this one, admins, and as you can see in admins, there is one admin out there. Okay, now whenever you design something like this, it's very, very important to set up your rules. Otherwise, anybody can hack into your database, and they can steal all this information. So as you can see, let's go back, recap this. I created a new collection called online store, and inside online store I have another collection document called Irish, and inside that document I have one, it has one or more than one collections here. Okay, so let's go set up the rules here. Okay, and we are going to set up rules for each and every collection, but for now let's get started with this one. Okay, so whenever you open these things, the rules tab, so you will not see it will start with something very, very blank here like this. Okay, but because I have already a lot of code written there, so I'm going to pretend that this code is not there. Okay, this is what you will see: server.cloud.firestore, and you will see match database documents, this one. Okay, now here first thing I want to do, I want to say I'm going to do a lot of copy paste here. Okay, so first of all, first thing what I want to do, so all the as you can see, match online store, and inside the online store collections, sorry, I have to spell it wrong, online store, and inside that online store document, I want to have I want to block all the access. So I'm going to say copy, paste this here, place this here, false, false, and false. So this will, what it will do, it will block all the access to any direct document written inside this one. Okay, now I'm going to secure that admin collection here. Okay, so I'm going to copy paste this again here. Now inside that online store, inside that document, now I'm going to go one level deep inside this one. So if you remember, here I had admins, document. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this one because I know that I had that document called Ilish. Ilish is the name of my store which I'm going to secure. Okay, perfect. Okay, now here what I want to do right now, everything is false, but if everything is false, how my how my Angular is going to check like, okay, that is document if somebody is admin or not. So I want to be very careful who can read my database here. So one thing I highly recommend, what I'm going to do is like, request.auth.uid. So I will allow any user to read the document if the user is authenticated first of all, and if the user that UID, yes sir, is not equals to null, is not equals to null. So that means this user ID is authentic. That means like it's an authenticated user. Okay, but unfortunately this is not enough. Okay, what we have to do, just because anybody, suppose I can use any Gmail account and I can log into a system. So what I want to do, I want you to also, you means like any user also to be owner of that document. Okay, so what I'm going to say here, I'm going to copy paste this code here. So again, I have written the whole blog about this one, so I will include the link and you can copy paste the entire, all this source code here. But for now, just now try to understand. First thing is I'm saying, okay, the user UID should not be null. That means user is already signed in. And the request.auth.uid, that means whatever the auth ID is coming here, what is going to do is going to go get to my database. Inside my database, all the documents, and inside this document is going to look at the online store collection. And remember, if inside this collection there was a document called Ilish, okay, /Ilish, and inside that one I had the collections called admins, okay, and inside that admin I had a document which, that's why I purposely, when I created that document, I gave that UID. That means the name of the document, the ID of the document is matches the authentication UID. Okay, so I hope you're following this one. If not, again, let me just recap this one more minute. So what first thing is doing is saying request.authID is not equals to null. That means the user is authenticated. And second part is whatever the authentication UID is, what this get function is doing is going to that database path where like database, and inside the documents it will go to the online store collection. Inside the online collection there's a document called Ilish, and inside that Ilish there's another collection called admins, and it's trying to find that out. Once it finds the document, there is a auth ID field in there. So whatever the users who is requesting access to this this collection, that user's UID should match with this one. Okay, I hope it makes a lot of sense. Okay, now when it goes to the right, so for example, I'm blocking everything. I'm not allowing anybody to create any more admin like this here. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Okay. Now while I'm here, that's how you secure your database. Okay, you can secure the individual document, the collection of the document, the sub collections. You can do n number of possible things here based on the user authentication ID. So this is a very, very useful feature here. So for example, I can allow, so for example, I'm working on some other say cards. Okay, so inside that cards, I want anybody to access their cards. Okay, so first of all, anybody to create something on the card. Okay, so what I can do here, I'm saying, okay, you know what, instead of false, I'm saying, okay, you know what, if your UID is not null, that means you are already authenticated. You can write anything to my document. But what can you read? You cannot read all of my documents here. You are only allowed to read what you have written. So this is how I can achieve this one here. So I will say, okay, first of all, you are signed in, and then let's go request.auth.uid equals to here the same thing, same pattern, but instead of online store Ilish admins, I'll say cards, and inside that cards I will say give all the documents. So I'm going to get rid of this one auth ID. So it will allow, inside the card, it will allow users to read all the card documents which belongs to him. So document.data.id. Now you might ask me, how do I know that this is his document? So when we now let's go switch to the Angular part of it. Whenever I'm going to write something to it, what I'm going to do, I'm going to hide that authentication ID. So I will say author is equals to UID. So whenever I'm going to write this function update shopping cart, this is coming in next tutorial. But right now, whenever, just like pretend that whenever I'm going to write that function, I'm going to include this feature here. So that's how my system will know, okay, this person has written this document. So here, instead of called auth ID, okay, perfect. This will take care of this one. So it will, and this is how you secure all of the your collections here. So right now is admin, cards, orders, or things like that. So I hope this helps. I'm going to publish this. That's all you need to take. So that's how you secure your collections here. Now let's go switch back to our client part of it and try to access this admins and cards collections. Quickly create those two AuthGuard services. So first thing is I'm going to head out to my services directory here. Now inside the services, I want to do nggs, and I'm going to call it a auth guard spec equals to false. Perfect. So once this is done, I'm going to create one more auth guard here, and this will be for our admin. Okay, so let me copy paste this command. Okay, go back here, create one more admin guard. That's it.